What is one healthy myth every parent should stop believing?
Oh, do you want the real one?
Heck yeah, I want the real one.
You probably follow her on Instagram.
This is my wife, Nurse Kate.
From the nursing profession, Kate Johnson
Is a mom of 4, a former ICU nurse, a fierce advocate for wellness, and a woman of deep conviction.
A lot of the things that I had learned foundationally about preventive health were just completely wrong.
I know.
If you don't want to get sick, our system of care is terrible.
What's the low-hanging fruit, Kate?
They're buying narratives, they're buying protection.
It's about being pro-freedom and anti-mandate.
These pharmaceutical companies have these perverse incentives to keep people on medications for as long as possible.
Kate is affecting actual policy in the state that we live in.
The wife of political firebrand Benny Johnson brings her own fire to the table.
It is unconstitutional, it's unjust, and it is wrong.
This is We the People, and it's time to take our medicine.
We the people. Why you quiet? It's time to stand up for the truth. And they coming for our kids, so who gon' stand up for the youth? Ay, and we know we win because Yeshua is the proof. Ay, we the people like Garcia, so there's no excuse.
Today's guest isn't just fighting for health in the hospital, she's fighting for it in the home. Nurse Kate Johnson is a mom of 4, a former ICU nurse, a fierce advocate for wellness, and a woman of deep conviction. You might know her as the wife of political firebrand Benny Johnson, but Kate brings her own fire to the table, and it's rooted in truth, freedom, and the kind of motherhood that shapes generations. At a time when modern medicine often forgets the human being behind the patient, Kate has become a voice reminding us that health is more than a prescription. It's a lifestyle, a mindset, a God-given responsibility. She's taken on the lies she's learned in the nursing school, stood firm in the face of cultural pressure, and is now raising kids who know what it means to walk in both strength and faith. Today, we talk motherhood. We talk marriage. We talk about building a home where liberty isn't just a political idea, it's a family value. Because if we want to raise the next generation to stand tall, we need mothers like Kate leading the charge. This is We the People, and it's time to take our medicine. Kate, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. You bring a whole fresh perspective around many things that I think our audience needs to hear. The theme of this show is relatability. It's called We the People because I want to demonstrate that we are all the people and we live our lives similarly in some ways, differently in others, but there are some practices that we can all adopt and learn from our guests to take back and apply in our own lives. And I've followed you on Instagram. I think you do a wonderful example of showing people things, simple things they can do in their life to make their own lives better and to make really the country better. So we're going to hit on all that today, if that's okay with you.
That sounds great.
Okay, cool. So let's just sort of start broadly. Walk us through your story from nurse to mom of 4 under 40 to wife of mega famous, outspoken influencer Benny Johnson. You seem to center your life around a core set of values: parenting, healthy, and civic engagement. What led you to where you are now, and what are your own goals that have created this independent success of your own?
So the core of everything for our family is our faith. So we've been driven by our faith in all things, and just walked through the doors that God has opened for us. And He, in my early life, did not open the door for marriage and did not open the door for kids when I was in my 20s. We got married when I was 28. And I think in kind of the modern wave of conservative like females that are out there, it's like, oh, get married as young as possible. But God used that time to shape me in a different way that prepared me for where I am today. And so I'm really grateful for that season of training that I did get to experience working critical care at a massively humongous hospital in Washington, D.C., where I took care of the sickest of the sick patients. I got to really understand the medical system from every aspect because I went from there to work for an insurance company, working on preventive health initiatives, and then went on to work for a huge nonprofit in DC doing consulting work for the VA. So I've gotten to really see and be immersed in all different aspects of the medical system, and then from there, having my own kids, see how the medical system has failed people in a lot of ways, and what we really need to focus on is the health of our families, and that starts mostly with the mom. the research has been really strong to show that mothers are the influential factor in the home when it comes to what decisions people make for the health of their family. And that has become like my banner moving forward as I have had 4 kids and have navigated figuring out how to make that a reality in a world that makes it very difficult, because everywhere you go, there is some kind of opportunity to make a poor choice for your family. So how do you balance out like not being overly restrictive and legalistic and following rules for the sake of rules, but also emphasizing the importance of having like health be a cornerstone? To me, God uses our health as a way to minister to other people. If you are so consumed on taking care of sickness and illness and disease in your own life, it's going to be very hard for you to have a witness for other people, because you're just not going to have the same capacity if you are constantly dealing with being sick and ill. So that's kind of how we've gotten to where we are today. And God opened the door for me to use social media as an opportunity to, share my experiences and then just walk alongside people in this kind of more open way. I just share things as I'm learning them. I have a lot of learning left to do, but as I get new understanding and have a deeper experience in what I'm doing with raising kids, being a mom. My oldest has only just turned 5, so I have a lot of learning left to do. But it's been a really interesting journey how God has weaved it all together for me.
Yeah, I mean, parenting and medicine sort of share something together, like right with your health. You mentioned it. If you can't take care of yourself first, then you can't take care of others. It's the same with parenting.
Yeah.
And we're going to hit on a lot of this today on sort of an overall approach to wellness. If you're not the best version of yourself for yourself, then you're not the best version for others as well. And you've sort of stepped out of the hospital arena into the life arena and transitioned all of your skill set into this arena perfectly. But I want to still stay in that other arena for a minute, because you share a lot of really interesting things on your social media. And one thing you shared was 3 lies I learned as a nurse and the truth I wish I had. So can you unpack that a little bit for us? And was there ever like an aha moment that shaped your approach to health?
Yeah, there was an aha moment. And it opened the door for me to start really like, what is happening here? I had this patient I was taking care of in critical care who was 33, and he didn't survive a massive heart attack. Wow. And it was a moment for me that I said, what are we doing? We have so many young people who are coming in and they're sicker and sicker and sicker. And like, why do we have people in their early 30s who are passing away from these conditions that we shouldn't be seeing until, they're much, much older. And I started to realize that this was kind of everywhere. And then that opened my eyes to this broader circle. And then, we had the pandemic, and a lot shifted for me during the pandemic. I'm sure as it did for most people, but I really did believe in the Western medicine model because I worked in critical care where it's great. If you are sick and you are in one of those positions, you want to be in America, you want to be in that system of care. But if you don't want to get sick, our system of care is terrible. And so we have a lot of room for improvement, room for growth here, where we can really make a difference in people's lifelong health, in helping them stay healthy and not need to be in that level of care. Like, you don't want to be one of my patients in that situation. So I started to realize that a lot of the things that I had learned foundationally about preventive health were just completely wrong. Everything from, it was ingrained that if something is FDA approved, then it's safe. Well, that's not true at all. The FDA removes approval from thousands of medications and medical devices every year. Every year. We also had this very flippant approach to nutrition, that nutrition doesn't really matter, that as long as you're getting your calories in and maybe you take a multivitamin, then you're fine. The food pyramid that we were all taught, is just mind-boggling.
Upside down.
It's mind-boggling stupid. Exactly. Why do we think that was a good idea? But that was what we were taught, and it was so ingrained in us. And it's so hard to remove yourself from that, because when you're in those critical care situations, you see it work. And I'll be honest with you, I tacitly had this opinion that we needed people to be on all kinds of regular prescription medications, so that way we would have these really advanced interventions in these critical care moments. And so it was like, okay that people are taking a bunch of pharmaceuticals every single day, because, well, that research and development allows us to have these really cool interventions that we can do in critical situations. And that's one of the things I'm most horrified about in my own, for myself, is that I ever had that opinion. Like, how horrible is that people, that I thought it was okay that people were like suffering and ill so that we could have these later.
Right.
That's crazy.
Right. So you're sort of hinting around this movement that everybody knows as MAHA. And MAHA is making some real change in the country, both from a policy perspective, but I think, cultures upstream of politics, they've sort of changed the conversation, RFK and Trump, around sort of health in this country and where we're being lied to, where the money's going, and the advertising and all the stuff that everybody knows about now. You're very well versed in policy and very familiar with sort of the parts of the MAHA movement that maybe we don't see on the outside. So let's talk about policy. But Kate, one thing you're very good at is sort of breaking things down for the everyday American, the working mom, the dad, whatever. So maybe enlighten us on the MAHA movement, on policy and medicine that kind of affects our everyday lives, and how we should think about it as we absorb information from the mainstream media.
Yeah, so first of all, you should understand that whatever you're absorbing from the mainstream media is paid for by pharmaceutical companies. So when pharmaceutical companies buy advertising, they're not buying your eyeballs for the sake of you going to your doctor to ask for that medicine. They're buying narratives, they're buying protection, they're buying control of how they want things to be presented to the mass public. So the list of all of the side effects that's read off like super, super quickly, and we've all gotten kind of numb to it, but these things are very significant, and we should pay more attention to this. These pharmaceutical companies have these perverse incentives to keep people on medications for as long as possible. So it actually started with the birth control pill, was the first medication that was ever used on a daily basis for a sustained amount of time, and it's just snowballed from there. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think that has only been around for 70 years, that we've been using medications on a daily basis like that. That from there, we now have people who are on 3, 4, 5, 7 prescription medications. The statistics as it stands right now are that a female born in 2019 will spend at least 60% of her life taking prescription medication every single day. 60%. Wow. So the influence and the power that these organizations have over just how you live your life and how you perceive life is supposed to be lived is very significant. So the pharmaceutical angle is one thing that the MAHA movement is very focused on, is getting in and breaking up some of these strongholds that they have, which is why like removing advertising from television is very important, because if you remove the advertising from television, from news especially, then you're going to remove a lot of the ability for them to have sway over what is said in the
You're
news.
never going to hear the mainstream news criticize one of their advertisers. They're making tens of millions of dollars from these companies. They're not going to criticize them.
Exactly. It's a bad business model for them. And actually, it will put some of these companies out of business when they do remove the ability for them to advertise. Then we have other things that are less understood, but are equally as problematic, with like vaccinations. I think a lot of people witnessed what happened with the COVID vaccination mandates and pushes, and just the ubiquity of all of that. And the crazy thing is that the COVID vaccine is actually the best studied vaccine on the market, which is
Really?
Yeah, it is the most thoroughly studied, most well-designed study for any of the vaccines that is currently on the market. So these pharmaceutical companies have an immunity that was issued to them by Ronald Reagan relatively under duress in 1986, and they have since created just this whole slew of this schedule, and they get pretty much rubber stamped. The structure for how they're approved is very shady at best. So that's another big focus that the MAHA movement, that HHS is really taking a deep dive look into, because this really much impacts our everyday health, because you have newborn babies that are getting their first injection within 24 hours of birth with the hepatitis B vaccine. So what is that doing to our long-term health? How is that impacting everything from neurological development with things like autism to autoimmune conditions? We know autoimmune conditions are on the rise. 1 in 10 children has an autoimmune condition, which is crazy when you think about. So the policy perspectives are really going after some of these root cause things that have just been in the past, assumed at face value as good, as beneficial, as necessary. And now we're starting to peel it back and say, wait a minute, what are we actually doing? And is this what we should be doing? And maybe the answer on the other side of the research is yes. I doubt that that's going to be the case. But we're finally going to get a really deep dive, hard look at these things and really understand what is valuable and what do we need to make, where do we need to make changes.
Hey guys, it's Gates. Thanks for tuning in. I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the show. I hear that all the time when I watch and listen to podcasts. And now that I have a show, I know the difference that it makes. It really does boost us in the algorithm. And the better we do in the algorithm, the better guests we're going to get, the better content we're going to be able to produce. This show is not mine, it's yours. So in a way, you're helping yourself. So please like, share, and subscribe, and God bless. Yeah, I mean, we have maybe the most transparent president we've ever had, and it's causing him to enforce transparency on industries that have not been transparent in the past. The level of accountability is rising under Trump. You bring up this stat that I'm going to try to repeat. Girls born after 2019 will spend 60% of their life on medication. A cured patient is a lost customer.
That's correct.
I'm totally convinced,
Yes.
and I don't think I'm very contrarian in this. I maybe was 10 years ago, but anymore that, I don't know that they want to cure us because it's lost business for them. They're promoting us being on these medications and keeping us on them. And, the old adage from like 3,000 years ago, let food be thy medicine. I mean, we can do a lot on our own.
Yeah.
You're very well versed in these things. Where do you get your information from? Because we just basically explained how you're not going to get this type of information from mainstream media. I mean, What are you reading? What are you watching? How can an everyday American get sort of a good download on health and medicine?
So I'm super nerdy.
Other than follow your Instagram page, which is a great place.
So my Instagram is a distillation of a lot of different sources. So my goal is to look for where is there overlap. So where I see overlap from a lot of different perspectives, that's where I generally believe the truth to be. So I'm super nerdy. I really like reading research papers. Don't do that. It's boring. If it's not like something that you're really passionate about. But I do read a lot of research papers. PubMed and I are best friends. And the crazy thing is that a lot of this research exists in these publications already. So you can actually go find a lot of these papers that are out there, research that has been done, if you just look for it. But most of the mainstream narratives, most of the health writers for large journals or for newspapers or publications are not going to go look for something that's contrary to what they want the narrative to be. So there's a few different health podcasts that I really enjoy listening to. Dr. Peter Atlas, Dr. Peter Attia.
Yeah. His book Outlive is excellent.
Yeah.
And I listen to his podcast as well.
It's wonderful.
You know what you bring up these studies and these journals. What I learned from Peter Attia and others is you read something and you just assume that it's in one of these journals, so it's just got to be true and all that and whatever. I've learned to go look at who sponsored the study.
Yes.
because it's back to
Yeah.
the advertising.
Yeah.
Like, follow the money.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when you determine who's paying for the research to be done by some of these journals that you can still be misled. So all this is to say that I'm going to give you the shameless plug you wouldn't give yourself, is that we need people like you at Nurse Kate Johnson on social media to go do all that work for us. And then people like you to come deliver us just what we need to know. And you're so good at that. And it can be the real serious stuff that we've been talking about, but it can also be something as simple as a 15-minute walk every day. One thing you're great at is you provide tangible benefits that you've found in your own life to make immediate differences that are easy. One thing about this show, one of the themes is very easy takeaways that someone can watch this episode and go implement into their life. So what's the low-hanging fruit, Kate? What can I go do, or what can a working mom go do, or a stay-at-home mom go do today that will make an immediate impact on her well-being?
Go for a walk. If at the end of my career, what I am known for as the woman who tells you to walk, like, I will think I have done such a great job. If you walk, especially if you walk outside, the health benefits are enormous. Everything from improved cognition to improved cardiovascular function to mood stabilization. So people who struggle with depression or anxiety, connection with your family. If you go for a walk with your family, if you are maybe a little bit out of where we are with our kids and can go for a walk with just your husband, that connection time is so deeply valuable. And there's something about moving forward, that actual physical moving forward, that is not really well understood exactly why this works, but it does something to our central nervous system that calms everything down and helps us really focus and helps us eliminate stress. So the world we live in is so stressful and we're constantly bombarded. So if you can get outside and go for a walk, you can like instantly boost your mood, help fix those stressors that are hanging over you. If you're outside, you're also absorbing sunshine, you get vitamin D, you help with sleep cycle regulation, you help with hormone production, you help encourage your brain to be able to filter out. There's something about nature, seeing nature, that helps your brain filter out external, like, visual stresses that you don't get in the inside environment. So you actually have to be outside. There's the theories are about rounded edges versus squared edges and things like this, and colors and sounds, and you stimulate your brain in a different way. You can actually reduce your risk of Alzheimer's disease by 50% if you walk regularly. 7,000 steps is generally the cutoff where we see those health benefits. But start with a 15-minute walk. Just like make that a part of who you are, and you'll also help prevent developing diabetes. And
I've read that going for a 15-minute walk after a meal helps your body process the rush of blood sugar, and it lowers your blood sugar after a meal. It blunts the effects of all that. It's your glucose and all that sort of stuff. There's also something to be said about just completing a task. Walking is good for your physical health, but you bring up the mental benefits too. Like, just completing a task is just mentally motivating to someone. And if it's a 15-minute walk, well, they say, that's not that big a deal. Well, it's more than you did when you didn't do the 15-minute walk. And if I'm being honest here, it's a great case to make for buying a dog, because I love a dog more than anybody. We're the biggest dog family in the world. Get a dog, go for a walk every day, and you'll be better off.
I love that.
So on social media, we've talked about your page a little bit, but you blend being an influencer so well with being a mom, on a platform where sort of no brush of makeup goes unnoticed. I mean, I see you just like dripping in sweat after the gym, no makeup on your face. You got one kid over your shoulder. You're doing like a half a burpee with over here in the corner. How do you blend the excruciatingly busy life of a mom of four, but also this professional track that you've taken? Like, where's the give and take?
That is the give and take, is that?
We're watching it.
It just is what it is. So if you told me when I started this 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that I would be like getting on social media with no makeup and like literally dripping sweat, I'd be like, oh, I don't think so. But you know what? Like, that's where I'm in life, and that's what I look like. So I don't know. I think we overcomplicate everything. So like, the one thing that having so many little kids has taught me is just like, stop complicating things. and just like make it simple. And that's the simple reality of life is like it's messy. It's not picture perfect, and I don't look glamorous.
We see so many images. The majority of images of people on social media, whether it's images or videos, is not their real self. They think it's their best self, but it's some sort of mirage that they want to put on for the world. But with you, it is you, which is your best self. And I think that's why following you it makes such a great case to follow you, because people see themselves reflected in the life that you're leading on social media. I mean, we're sort of walking these steps with you. I'm very appreciative of it. I'm not a mom, obviously, but I can relate to everyday Americans just being blunt and honest and authentic on a platform that's not always that way. And I think that's why you're having so much success on there. Did you want to add anything? Okay, because someone else that's having a ton of success on social media is Benny Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Benny couldn't have a bigger platform, and he couldn't have a bigger platform in a more contentious space. I mean, politics and media is where, fireworks just go off without a spark.
Yeah.
So how do you balance a private life when he and now yourself have such a high profile of exposure?
It's like just part of our life, but I don't know. We just live the most normal life. Like we are just parents who come home to take care of our kids, or I stay home with our kids. And we just are normal people. So we don't really think about it. We don't really talk. It's like, that's work. And we leave that where it is. And we don't bring that into the house. I mean, we own, like I help run the business side of that company. It's a family business, but it's not our life. Like our kids are our life. Our marriage is our life. And so that's not how we identify, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I think sometimes people do make it their life, like that is their identity, but that's not our identity. And so bringing people along for that part is awesome, but that's not our real life. Our real life is our family and is our community.
So when you and Benny walk in the door every day, it's not the latest Trump quote or political argument going on at the dinner table. Is that what I'm hearing?
I will tell you, we've discussed politics more since the Epstein thing than we have in a long, long time, because we're both like heckles up on this one. I think most Americans feel the same way. But no, look, our faith is the foundation for everything. We're very values aligned, him and I. And so we understand the world through a very similar perspective because our values are so aligned. And we don't have to discuss a lot of things because we already understand where the other one's coming from and how we're going to, understand that and perceive that. We also, I just never read the comments on his posts. People are so mean, and I don't want to read people being mean to him and about him.
Yeah.
But honestly, in my community, people are so nice. And if you're not, I'll block you.
Anytime I get and I get them, I mean, I'm not on Benny's level, but I get a bunch of nasty comments in the comment section, and I always reply, I'm like, well, thanks for helping the algorithm, because every time you comment, it boosts my thing in the algorithm. It's like, what kind of life do you live that you sit around and you're a keyboard jockey all day? It blows my mind. Speaking of mental health, there's a lot of lack of that, unfortunately, on social media.
I know, people are it's really sad.
It is.
It's really sad. If this is what you're spending your time doing,
Yeah.
Go get a dog and go for a walk. Go do something.
Follow Nurse Kate Johnson on social media.
There has to be more than being mean to people online.
Yeah. So parenthood. This is this one job that we're not qualified for. When you work at a company or you're a nurse, you went to nursing school. You work at a company, you had the job before the job. You sort of climb the ladder one step at a time. But you have 4 kids, we have 3, 10, 8, and 4. And I mean, it hits you like a train to the face. I mean, it's like, I have a kid now. Like, how do you do this? You can read books and all that, but you don't have any way to practice it before it arrives. So what has surprised you the most about yourself as a mother, and what do you wish you knew in advance?
Man, that I thought I was way more patient than I am. I feel like this has been a work in learning how to be truly patient. If you would ask me that before I had kids, I'd been like, oh yeah, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
No. Having 4 little kids who constantly need something, constantly need your attention, like feeling split all the time, that has been overwhelming in some ways, and learning how to be able to focus myself and like and not let myself get out of control, so that I can meet their needs. That has been like the work of the last 5 years of parenthood that I was not prepared for, because I thought you can't see that stuff in yourself. And then now that I have a 5-year-old, I'm seeing stuff that I don't like about myself reflected back in her. And it's like, I know that I'm the one who put that there. And so that process has been so humbling, like having to say, okay, wow, that's a really bad way, to speak, or that's not a way that we want to approach the world or approach other people. So having to like undo that in her and then undo that in myself, and realize that I am so flawed and that I'm completely dependent on God to help me do this. And that's what we pray with them every single night. And the Lord's Prayer, gosh, that holds up, right? Like, forgive me my trespasses.
Yeah.
Because
It's the perfect prayer.
yeah, I mean, I trespass against my kids every single day. And so I ask them every single day for, forgiveness for where I've fallen short, because it is humbling. Being a
Yeah.
parent is the most humbling thing I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
It's wild.
So we celebrate and champion men and women on this show and our unique God-given differences. So that's me sort of I'm going to sort of ask you the question of, how do you and Benny divide the parenting roles? And I'm not talking about, who does the dishes, who takes out the trash, whatever. Just the actual parental strategies, the relationships with your kids. How do you all sort of think about those things? And I think you're an interesting person to ask because you're a mother, but you sort of have the health background that you know the differences between men and women. There are some emotions that are better coming from a woman than there are from a man, and vice versa.
So this has been an interesting thing because our kids are little. I have really been the focal point for the family for the most part, because little kids 3 and younger really need their mom. But as our kids, our oldest is 5 and our youngest is, or second is now 3.5. His role is really starting to become emphasized so much more. And oh my gosh, he's such a good dad. He's such a good girl dad, especially. But I tell them, dad's the head of the house. Like, dad makes final decisions. So if there's ever, I don't know, it's like little things right now, but if there's like a schism in our weekend plans, he wants to take him to the zoo, I want to take him to the beach. Well, at the end of the day, dad's the head of the household. So if that's what dad wants to do, then that's what we're going to do. And it's those small ways that we're modeling for them right now that, we trust the leadership of the man that God has put in our lives. And I have girls, my girls are the ones who can understand this right now. My sons are almost 2 and 6 months, so we're not at those conversations yet with them. But I think it's really important that they understand that dad is the leader and that that's what they need to be looking for in a future husband. So we break that down, in that kind of very simplistic way. And they watch us resolve those kinds of, it's not exactly a conflict, but those kind of like discussions with each other. And I really do feel like in the parenting role, my job is to let my kids see me trust him and let him lead me and the family. And yeah, I think that that's not always the easiest thing to do.
So Benny Johnson's a big zoo guy. We're breaking news on this show. Now everybody knows where to find him.
Zoo Tampa, man. You can find us there almost every weekend. We love Zoo Tampa.
You bring up communication. It's so important. I remember, learning very early in marriage when we were sort of talking about having kids, and I was getting advice from parents, and the advice that really stuck out to me was, if you end up having a daughter, and we do, and I've said this on this show before, expect the boyfriends that come home to emulate you. If you yell at your wife, if you're rude to your wife, if you don't know how to carry a calm conversation with your wife, don't be surprised when her boyfriends are the same, because that's the man that your daughter thinks is supposed to exist in the world. Yeah. So, another thing we say on this show all the time is more is caught than taught. Your actions always speak louder than your words when it comes to kids. So the communication thing you bring up is paramount. Another thing about your family, it really does seem to be rooted in faith and tradition. I mean, just the conversation we've already had here, has come up a number of times. So I know your kids are young, but what traditions are most important that you hope, maybe you already are, but that you hope to pass down to them? And then what are maybe some like actual practical steps that in ways you plan to do that?
So it's a daily tradition, but for me, eating dinner together as a family is a really big deal. Like we do that almost every night. I'm not gonna say every night, almost every night. We sit down to dinner. My girls participate in like setting the table. They each have their own little job when it comes to that. Family meals are so important for family health. And right now, you don't want to come over for family dinner because it is a chaotic zoo. But there's like more food is on the floor than in anybody's mouth. But that structure of that tradition that we come together as a family and we sit and we talk to each other and we connect and we have that breath, that pause in our day where this is what we do together. And that's going to be more important for us than any like youth sports, than any academic things. Like that moment together as a family is so important to me. And practicing it while they are little is another trial in patience. And it's something I'm learning. But I learned that from my parents and my grandparents. And then, crazy enough, go figure, there's so much data that shows that the health benefits that has for kids is huge, that they learn how to cook. They learn how to structure a meal. They learn how to slow down and enjoy a meal. They learn how to have that decompression time, and that food is something that is not just calories, right? It's community, it's connection, it's communion, as Jesus set the example for us with that. So that's a really huge tradition to me that is very, very important. Other traditions are like getting time away as a family to go on some kind of trip, right? Where we are like phones down, everything is tuned out. We're just together as a family. And we do that a couple times a year, not extravagant trips, but like something where we are together and going somewhere to have an experience together. My parents, even though I'm one of 11 kids, my parents made a point to do that with us. And that really, those times when things are different and new and challenging and you're all figuring that out together, that really builds deep connections. So those are like the two things right now that I see a path forward.
I wouldn't want to be your parents paying to take 11 kids on vacation.
Could you imagine?
But I think there's sort of a foundation that you laid there. Both of the examples you gave emphasize interpersonal relationships. And those are so important. You can't go through life alone. And we do the exact same thing. We eat dinner as a family every night together. And it doesn't matter how late the baseball practice is going or the football practice or the dance recital. We know that there is a destination at the end of the day where we will all collectively gather and be together. And culture starts at the kitchen table. I mean, we have conversations at dinner that we don't have. It's the only time we're all together, unless it's like a road trip or something, but then they're distracted with other things. Sharing, passing the salt or whatever it may be. Like there is so much that happens at a kitchen table. We can talk about our day, the highs, the lows. What are we grateful for? We thank God. Everything that comes out of our family comes from that kitchen table. So I love that you all value that. And by the way, you never know when it's going to be the last time that you're all sitting at the same kitchen table, because we grow up, we have our own families. Like, when's the last time you were just with your parents and your siblings? I mean, you probably can't remember that exact time. And it may not ever happen again because you have your own kids and they have their kids. You'll all be together, but there'll be other people there. So we take that, it's sacred in our family, and it's not cliche, it is sacred.
I love that you guys do that too. It's like such a lost art, It
100%.
used to be like the standard, and now it's something that is.
And it's so easy to make excuses for not doing it. So-and-so has a practice, so-and-so's got this or whatever. Just wait. We can wait to eat. If you're hungry, have a little snack, a healthy snack, Nurse Kate. But let's gather there, because that's just the destination that it's so important to us. I love hearing you say that. All right, we're going to end with a lightning round, but one more sort of like bigger question.
Sure.
Just yesterday, and it won't be yesterday when this airs, but as we sit here today, just yesterday, you shared a story on your Instagram from your 94-year-old grandmother about a happy marriage.
Yeah.
How do you share that lesson? And then also, how do you bring lessons from past generations into your home?
Oh, man. I grew up next door to my grandparents. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother. She lives 1,000 miles away from me now, but I bring her down. She still gets on a flight so she can come down and spend time with me. So she's a huge part of my life, and so much of what I am and what I know I owe to her and her influence. So she used to always take a minute and get herself together before my grandfather came home from work, and he was a farmer, so she would always make sure that like lunch was ready for him, and she had a cold washcloth waiting, and as soon as he walked in the door, she'd greet him and she'd wipe his face and his arms with a cold washcloth, and she always had a little bit of lipstick and a little bit of rouge that she put on her cheek so that she looked put together for him. And I watched her model that, and more than anything, what she was saying is, I'm going to get teary-eyed, is I love you and I see you and I value you enough that I'm going to take a minute to prepare myself, and then you're the first thing that I'm paying attention to when you walk in the door. And she would do it for 30 seconds. It's not like it's a long time. And they were very happily married for 74 years until my grandfather passed away a couple years ago. So I try to take that lesson and make that a reality in my home, that for 30 seconds, I greet him at the door, and that I say hi, take a breath, take a beat, and then I like get myself together a little bit. For me, that looks like putting on a little bit of makeup. It doesn't have to be makeup. That's just the thing that works for me in my life right now. And yeah, just prioritizing that in your life and prioritizing your marriage and how important that connection is, because life does get crazy and it's so busy and there's so many reasons not to. But to bring it back to, I see you, I love you, you're important, and I value you. That's the message that I want my husband to be greeted with when he comes home. And the I don't know that there is anything more important than making sure that that foundation is solid, because that's the foundation from which we raise our kids. And that's the foundation from which, earthly foundation. That's the foundation from which, we reach out to the world, and that we embrace other people and are able to have any kind of other connections. So that to me is like one of the most important sacred things in our life right now.
We have a lot of cool pictures in this set, but we don't have tissues. So
I'm so sorry.
I now know what I need to add to my set. But that view, that approach is so contrarian, because when we walk in the door at the end of the day, it's natural for both sides to be like, my day was this, and let me tell you about this, and let me tell you about that. But yours is literally turning the mirror around and aiming it at the person that's walking into the door. And hopefully Benny does the same thing with you. It's just that acknowledgement that like, I see you, I acknowledge you, and I embrace you, and now let's move on with the rest of our night. It's beautiful, and I love that it came from your 94-year-old grandmother. All right, so a little bit of a lightning round here to finish the episode. What is one healthy myth every parent should stop believing?
Oh, do you want the real one?
Heck yeah, I want the real one.
That vaccines are safe and effective.
Yeah, I say that all you want on this show.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I believe that now. I very much believed in Western medicine, and I used to hear these stories about people who like thought that vaccines damaged their kids and made them autistic, or damaged their kids and created autoimmune issues or whatever. And I'd be like, oh, these parents, they don't know anything. Oh my gosh, so embarrassing even thinking that. But I watched my daughter have a full-blown allergic reaction after I let her get her 6-month vaccines. And I was gaslit by the pediatrician. They didn't even put it in her chart. They told me that it's normal. And I like, that opened this whole cascade for me into like reading everything I could get my hands on. And now my whole opinion of that is completely different. I'm not saying that nobody should make that choice for their family, but I'm saying that as a blanket statement, you cannot believe that. It's just not true.
Yeah, no, and the courage it takes for someone like you to say that. Someone doesn't have to believe you, but I hope they respect the courage it takes for you to say that, because it's very controversial to say that. But you've also done the work to have that opinion rather than just, like we've already talked about, watch TV and read mainstream stuff and all that. You've done the research for us, and you've presented an opinion, a stance that's worth someone investing in, at least to learn more. So I applaud you for that. All right, we've already talked about the 15-minute walk, so you can't double answer here, but best advice for another busy parent trying to adopt a healthy routine.
Eat more protein. Simple ways to get more protein into your diet, like chomps, beef, jerky sticks. Pre-cook your proteins, like make a big thing of chicken breast and brown up some hamburger at the beginning of the week, keep them in the refrigerator. Women especially need to be eating more protein. Especially if you're in childbearing years and you're trying to build another human. That human is going to be made out of the proteins in your body. All of your hormones are made from protein. Women very much undereat protein, which makes them overeat other junky carbs. And it creates issues with blood sugar, with hormone imbalances. We're seeing PCOS just explode, where women have these very complicated hormonal issues related to blood sugar dysregulation. So just eat more protein. And if you can put it on a note on your refrigerator, if you're hungry, grab some protein. Not the chips, not the crackers. Get a beef jerky. Invest in a bag of protein powder, Greek yogurts. I know everybody's kind of talking about protein right now, but there's really good reason, and it's the first time that any of these diet tribes are onto something really good. So do that.
All right, that's easy. All right, last question. How do you keep date nights or maintaining your bond with Benny in the midst of 4 kids and 2 busy careers?
Ooh, okay. Date nights are really hard right now. So what we do, we haven't watched a TV show in 5 years. I mean, almost literally true. So at the end of the day, when the kids are in bed, we don't turn on the TV. We don't get back on our phones. At the end of the day, we have about an hour before we go to bed. And that hour is no screen time. It's us, maybe we're cleaning the kitchen or whatever, but we spend that time talking and connecting, and not, watching TV. I don't even know. I couldn't tell you what TV shows are even on or out right now, because we don't turn it on. And that's the only time that we have to have real conversations that are not interrupted every 30 seconds. So date nights are really hit or miss right now.
State night. It's like a staycation.
Yeah.
You just do it at home.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
All right, Kate, where can people find you, follow your work and all that?
My favorite platform is Instagram. So that's at Nurse Kate Johnson on Instagram. And then I do get on Twitter, although it's a very mean place. So I get on X every now and then, and that's at Nurse Kate John as well.
All right. Well, I feel healthier. I'm going to go eat a protein shake. Yeah. And I really appreciate you being here, Kate.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We the people. Why you quiet? It's time to stand up for the truth. And they coming for our kids, so who gon' stand up for the youth? Ay, and we know we win because it sure is the proof. Ay, we the people like Garcia, so that's no excuse.